What if I told you there was a family car built more than 50 years ago that could carry 8 people, haul luggage across the country, outrun a lot of muscle cars from a stoplight, and give passengers a panoramic roof experience decades before luxury SUVs turned it into a premium feature? Because that's exactly what the Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser did. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why this forgotten station wagon solved problems modern SUVs still haven't fully figured out. Long before the minivan changed suburbia, and before SUVs became the default answer for every American family, the station wagon ruled the road. In the early 1960s, if you needed one vehicle that could handle road trips, groceries, kids, camping gear, highway cruising, and daily commuting, there really wasn't another category to choose from. Wagons were the family vehicle. They weren't trendy or nostalgic at the time. They were simply what worked. And in 1964, Oldsmobile decided that simply working wasn't enough anymore. That's when the Vista Cruiser arrived. Now, to understand why this car mattered so much, you have to picture America in the mid-1960s. The interstate highway system was expanding rapidly. Families were larger. Gasoline was cheap. Cross-country driving wasn't a luxury activity. It was becoming part of everyday American life. Families packed their cars and drove hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles every summer. Comfort mattered. Space mattered. Reliability mattered. And Oldsmobile looked at all of that and realized people didn't just need transportation. They needed a vehicle built around the experience of traveling together. That idea shaped the Vista Cruiser from the ground up. Oldsmobile based the wagon on General Motors' intermediate A body platform, shared with cars like the Cutlass and F-85. But they didn't stop there. Engineers stretched the wheelbase beyond the standard configuration, giving the Vista Cruiser extra length specifically to improve passenger comfort and ride quality. This wasn't just about squeezing in another row of seats. The additional size gave the car a smoother highway ride and more interior volume without making it feel clumsy or oversized. And then there was the feature that made the Vista Cruiser instantly recognizable from a block away: the roof. Oldsmobile called it the Vista roof, and even today it still looks futuristic in a strange, wonderful way. Instead of keeping the roofline flat like every other wagon on the market, Oldsmobile raised the rear section and surrounded it with glass. The inspiration actually came from the GMC Cruiser bus from the 1950s. Those massive highway buses designed for long-distance travel. Designer Pete Wenslaff took that elevated observation-style roof idea and transformed it into something a suburban family could own. The result was unlike anything else on the road. Passengers in the second and third rows weren't staring at a dark cloth headliner anymore. They were looking through skylights. Light poured into the cabin from above, making the interior feel open and airy in a way modern SUVs still struggle to recreate. Depending on the year and options, the glass could be tinted green or treated with a reflective finish. Some models even included integrated sun visors for rear passengers. And the really important part is that this wasn't treated like some expensive luxury upgrade. It was built into the identity of the car itself. Today, automakers charge thousands extra for panoramic roofs. Entire trim packages revolve around getting more glass overhead. But Oldsmobile understood something back then that modern manufacturers sometimes forget. When families spend hours together in a vehicle, the atmosphere inside matters just as much as horsepower numbers or touchscreen sizes. The Vista Cruiser felt special to sit in. Kids especially loved it. Imagine being in the third row during a summer road trip in 1968, looking up at the sky while the highway stretched endlessly ahead. Oldsmobile made the third row feel like a real passenger space instead of an afterthought. Getting back there was easier too. And while the glass roof gave the Vista Cruiser its personality, the engine lineup gave it credibility. Because underneath this practical family wagon was one of the most important V8 engine families in American automotive history. The Oldsmobile Rocket V8 first appeared in 1949, and it changed everything for General Motors performance engineering. At a time when many American cars still relied on flathead engines, Oldsmobile introduced an overhead valve V8 design that could breathe more efficiently, make more power, and rev more freely. The original Rocket V8 helped establish the horsepower race that would define American cars for decades. Some historians even argue that the 1949 Oldsmobile 88 was the first true muscle car because of that engine. By the time the Vista Cruiser debuted in 1964, the Rocket V8 had evolved into a refined and incredibly durable power plant. The standard engine was a 330 cubic inch V8 producing around 230 horsepower, which was already more than respectable for a family wagon in that era. Paired with GM's Jetaway automatic transmission, it delivered smooth, effortless acceleration that made highway driving easy. But Oldsmobile didn't stop with respectable. As the 1960s progressed, the options became increasingly aggressive, and eventually, buyers could order a 400 cubic inch V8 in a station wagon. Think about how wild that sounds today. A full-size family hauler with wood grain sides and enough power to embarrass unsuspecting drivers at stoplights. And then came the ultimate version, the 455. This is where the Vista Cruiser stopped being merely practical and became genuinely outrageous. In 1970, Oldsmobile made the massive 455 cubic inch Rocket V8 available in the wagon. This was the same engine family associated with the legendary 442 muscle car. In Vista Cruiser form, it produced 320 horsepower and, even more importantly, 500 pound-feet of torque. That torque figure mattered more than anything else in a vehicle this size. Modern turbocharged SUVs often advertise horsepower numbers, but torque is what makes a heavy vehicle feel effortless. The 455 delivered power instantly and smoothly. You didn't need to rev it hard. You barely needed to push the throttle. The car simply moved with authority. Contemporary road tests showed even smaller engine Vista Cruisers reaching 60 miles per hour in the low 8-second range, which was genuinely quick for a large family wagon at the time. The 455 equipped cars were faster still, and because the engine produced its power low in the rev range, it perfectly matched the mission of the vehicle. This wasn't a screaming high RPM sports car engine, it was a highway engine. A road trip engine, the kind of powertrain designed to carry a full family, luggage, camping gear, and maybe even a trailer, all while cruising comfortably at interstate speeds for hours at a time. And helping manage all that torque was one of General Motors' greatest transmissions, the Turbo Hydromatic. Whether equipped with the TH350 or TH400, depending on engine configuration, these transmissions earned reputations for durability that still hold up today. Smooth shifts, strong internals, and excellent compatibility with big torque heavy V8s made them nearly ideal for a vehicle like the Vista Cruiser. Then in 1968, the second generation Vista Cruiser arrived with updated styling and several important refinements. The raised glass roof evolved into a cleaner, single-piece design. The body became more sculpted and modern-looking. Interior space improved even further. But one of the smartest upgrades was the tailgate. Oldsmobile designed it with dual-action functionality. Owners could either drop it down like a traditional tailgate or swing it open sideways like a door. That flexibility made loading cargo dramatically easier depending on the situation. Groceries, luggage, lumber, camping equipment, the wagon adapted to whatever families needed. That's really what made the Vista Cruiser different from many modern SUVs. It wasn't pretending to be rugged. It wasn't trying to imitate an off-road truck. It was engineered specifically around real family use. And somehow, in doing that, it became cooler than most performance cars of its time. One of the best examples of that came in 1972 when Hurst Performance prepared special Vista Cruiser support vehicles for the Indianapolis 500. Alongside the famous Hurst Olds pace cars, they built customized Vista Cruiser wagons equipped with high-performance 455 engines and painted in cameo white. One of them even served as the medical director's vehicle for the race. Think about what that says. A station wagon was trusted at Indianapolis because it combined speed, space, reliability, and practicality better than almost anything else available. That balance is exactly why the Vista Cruiser still matters today. These weren't fragile collectibles when new. They were working machines. Families drove them everywhere. They crossed states loaded with kids and suitcases. They sat in suburban driveways through harsh winters and scorching summers. And despite their size and performance, many kept going for years because the underlying engineering was simple, robust, and repairable. That's another thing modern vehicles have largely lost. Mechanical honesty. The Vista Cruiser didn't hide behind software menus or electronic driving modes. Its strengths were physical, thick steel, big displacement, long wheelbase comfort, massive torque, straightforward engineering. Unfortunately, by the late 1970s, the American station wagon itself was beginning to fade, and when the third-generation Vista Cruiser arrived, much of the unique magic had disappeared. The signature raised glass roof was replaced by a simpler design, and slowly the car became just another wagon in a shrinking segment. Production finally ended in 1977, but what makes the Vista Cruiser fascinating now is how many of its ideas still feel ahead of their time. That's why the Vista Cruiser represents something bigger than nostalgia. It represents a philosophy, one vehicle that could genuinely do everything. Comfortable enough for cross-country travel, powerful enough to tow and accelerate confidently, spacious enough for large families, durable enough to survive years of hard use. And honestly, that's probably why enthusiasts still love them today, because once you see one in person, especially a second-generation car with the raised glass roof and wood grain sides, it immediately stands apart from modern traffic. And once you hear a 455-powered Vista Cruiser pull away with that deep rocket V8 sound, you realize this wasn't just another old family car. It was one of the coolest wagons America ever built. So now I want to hear from you. Which generation of the Vista Cruiser would you take home if you had the chance? And if Oldsmobile handed you the option sheet back in 1970, would you check the box for the 455 Rocket V8?